Well, if it isn't my favorite adorable scamps, you toasty little yamlets, you. Papa Yam is here today to share the great truth of a big city living with you and hopefully help you navigate the streets of your big city better and safer than you did on your last round of Frogger. There are definitely some do's and don'ts you should keep in mind when you're zipping around a metropolitan area. If you've seen my video on the 7 habits you should absolutely get in the hang of when you're first starting out, give it a little look-see. It will complement everything you're going to learn in this video almost as well as old Max Chad was complimenting your mother last night. Ladies love a man with an accent, am I right? Before we jump in here, make sure you check out our motorcycle giveaway. We've got a brand new Yamaha R3 and Suzuki SV650 ready to be given away. I've got a new way you can enter as well. If you go to YammieNoobMerch.com and pick out any piece of merch, you'll automatically get some tickets to win. It's that easy. Every dollar you spend gets you 1 entry to win, so go and grab yourself one of our award-winning designs and get started. Okay, they're not award-winning. I lied. I apologize. Click the link below and check it out. All right, let's get started on this video. I have lived in a lot of big cities. I've also visited a lot of big cities, and they are known for having terrible drivers, awful traffic, and all of the roadblocks and construction, etc. Most recently, my 2 big cities are Dallas and Austin. While both of these cities are dramatically different, as I'm sure all big cities are, there are a few things I picked up while riding in crowded areas that are pretty solid across the board. The biggest difference in Austin versus Dallas is people on electric scooters who seem to have no qualm with running red lights. It's like they have no regard for their own life. These yuppies are just flying through red lights, just asking to die. That's how it works here in Austin, apparently. First up, don't speed past stopped cars. Anyone who lives in the city knows that parking can be an absolute nightmare. For the most part, side streets, downtowns, and residential areas are going to be lined with parallel parkers. That's all fine and dandy until you come zooming past one and the driver who wasn't paying attention decides to open their car door and step out the exact moment you're passing. That's not going to end well, is it? The good thing about parked cars is that you can usually change lane position and get some extra clearance for cases like that, but it isn't always the case. For those times where you can't get a safe distance from parked cars, slow your roll, my brother. Slow the roll. You never know what those cars are going to do. Sure, it might just be opening the door, which would suck big ones, but it could also be something even more serious, like someone deciding to dart out and beat you into a lane. This also goes for when you're passing everyone in your turn lane and everyone is stopped in the go straight lane. Sometimes people can dart out into the turn lane, so don't speed through there either. Motorcycles are a lot of fun, yeah? Our next tip is pay attention to people's wheels. Now, I'm not suggesting you stare at the wheels of the cars around you while you're out riding. That's not a good idea. What I am saying is you definitely pay attention and keep an eye out for movement that indicates a turn. Even a parked car will need to turn the wheels some before they can pop out in front of you. It seems like pretty common sense, but it's one of those things you're going to be developing after you've been riding for a little bit. Which leads pretty nicely into my next point. You should always ride a little slower than you think. Every road, street, highway, or freeway you ride on should be considered unpredictable and treated as such, but in my experience, city riding is definitely the most unpredictable environment. You've got to worry about other cars, sure, but then there's bicyclists, the incredibly friendly squirrels that love darting out, the neighbor's dog to chase you, the random runner, my personal favorite, the pedestrians. Anything can dart out in front of you at any given moment. There's lots of unpredictable for lack of a better term, so take the extra minute to ride a little slower than you think you should. You're really doing yourself a favor. Not only are you saving those friendly little squirrels, but you're also giving everyone around you a better opportunity to check out that sweet Turbo Busa. And you got to remember too, when you're riding through a city, you're not going to be setting any lap times, you're not trying to actually carve up any twisty roads. Normally, if you're riding through a city, you're probably trying to get to somewhere like a cool bar or maybe a store or something like that, so just slow it down. There's no prize waiting for you at the end of it. Now, here's a little disclaimer before we talk about our next tip. Yammie Noob is not a lawyer, traffic cop, or certified to give you any legal driving advice in any situation. He cannot be held accountable for anything he says or does. Anything you decide to do in his name, praise Rossi. Tip number 5, filter with caution when you need to. But Yammie, filtering isn't even legal in most places. Yes, I know. Please see the above disclaimer. Here is the deal. It is a lot safer for you to cautiously filter through traffic than it is to remain stuck behind a bunch of cars. I do it all the time here in Austin, especially in downtown and the surrounding areas. And sure, some people will honk at you because by honking, I am enacting absolute and extreme justice to this person who has not affected me in any way whatsoever. But if you can deal with some randoms getting butthurt, then do it. If there's a cop, however, you're on your own. Filtering is a skill set you should work to acquire, but if it is illegal in your state or you just aren't comfortable doing it, then keep in mind that you should maintain a safe distance between you and all the other cars at all times. Think about it this way. If the car in front of you has an accident, do you have enough time to maneuver safely? Your reaction time on a motorcycle is completely different than the reaction time you need in a car, so be mindful. Now that's a good lead in for my next tip, so let's go ahead and look at that next tip. Always try to get away from traffic. At the end of the day, they can't hit you if they aren't near you. People might think you're being annoying by filtering up to the light and then taking off in front of everyone and cracking a mega dank wooly, but you'll know that you're actually practicing self-preservation. Seriously, why sit in between a bunch of cars in traffic if you don't have to? Get out in front, leave those suckers behind. If you've got 2 cars in front of you, 1 next to you, a couple behind you, it only takes one of them screwing up to put you in huge danger. Leave loads of space between you and the Candy Crush playing moms. Up next is dragging your rear brake in slow speeds. It may seem counterintuitive to hit the brakes when you're trying to get to somewhere or execute a U-turn or some other maneuver on your bike, but so does counter steering and it works just fine. Using your rear brake when you're riding at slow speeds, trying to make turns, etc. is beneficial because it gives you a little more stability when you're going slower and don't have gyroscopic forces helping you out like you do when you're riding at higher speeds. You'll need to learn to balance your throttle and brake applications, but having better control over your bike is always a plus when you're riding in a crowded or unpredictable area. And to be honest, anytime you're on a motorcycle, you're in an unpredictable area, except on the track. Our next tip, watch out for pedestrians. This might seem pretty simple, pretty, logical. I've mentioned that pedestrians are one of my favorite obstacles when riding in the city. They're just so dang unpredictable, laissez-faire, and above all, man, do they feel like a brick wall when you hit them. I've never hit a pedestrian. I'm serious. People coming and going from shops are worried about one thing, getting to their destination. That's a me-first attitude that tends to push people into jaywalking, darting in front of cars, and that attitude of, I was a good runner in high school, I can probably make it. If you've ever seen any of Royal Jordanian's videos, you know that pedestrians are extremely unpredictable. Pedestrians, please don't be that person. Motorcycle riders, please watch out for that person, because at some point you will come across a pedestrian who is in fact being that person. On that note, let's just go ahead and roll this next tip out, because if you're riding in the city at night, you need to watch out for drunk folks milling around. I have had more than my fair share of drunk people stumble in front of me in the streets, and it is a bad time. Regular pedestrians are hard enough to watch out for, but at least some of them are paying attention to what they're doing, where they're going, and if there's a steel warhorse coming at them. Pedestrians who are stumbling out of a bar and onto the street are a totally different challenge. They have no inhibitions, feel pretty invincible, and common sense went out the window on that last round of Jaeger. Side note, how do people drink that stuff? The smell alone is enough to drive me to an AA meeting. If you're new to a city, familiarize yourself with where local bars and pubs are. That way, you can know to avoid that area come sundown. Seriously, here in Austin off 6th Street, it can be insanely dicey. Luckily, they block off the whole street during most weekends. And finally, my fellow Rossi lovers, you should definitely take notes on city riding tip number 9. Enjoy the endless, excellent parking options. Most cities have special motorcycle parking spots that are primo and always open. Most cities will even allow motorcycles to park right outside of stores, so you don't even have to worry about finding a spot, finding a meter, or whether your tire is 18 inches from the curb. Just learn how to safely hop onto that sidewalk without plowing over any of those pesky pedestrians we talked about, and you are good to go. Just don't be a dick and park in front of doors and stuff like that, or run anyone over. At the end of the day, if you piss people off, there's not a whole lot stopping them from tipping your bike over once you go inside the store. So that's gonna do it for today's video. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out. It's always a pleasure to see my sweet, sweet Yammie children. I wish you guys would call more, but I understand that you have your own lives now and families. You're all grown up. Just don't forget about your old Papa Yam, huh? We've also got a lot of exciting stuff happening over on Patreon thanks to our recent milestones, so go and check out that link in the description box below and make sure you aren't missing out on any of that primo content or any of our motorcycle giveaways. Seriously, I think, we have over 1,000 people on Patreon now, which is insane. You know the drill. Smash subscribe, ring the bell, Turbo Busa, or die. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Fact: you can tell how old a lobster is by counting the rings on its eye stalks. Goodbye.